rings undone. Sin defeated, Jesus is overcome. Mercy triumphed when the third day dawned. Darkness was denied when the storm was gone. Oh, unstoppable God, let your glory holding on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Unstoppable God, let your glory holding on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Come on. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done.
Having church in Georgia today. What do you think? Okay. Well, good morning. Welcome to the Well. My name's Joe. Glad that you're all here. Before we go to worship this morning, as you know, we're studying through the book of Psalms, and we're going to be on, Psalm 3 today, so we're moving right along. We've only got 147 left to go. But I'm going to read out of, we were talking about doing 10 Psalms. Okay, so as you can figure out how long this will take to go through Psalms, I'm going to read a little portion out of Psalm 95 today. So I figure it's good. We're not going to be there probably for 7 years, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. You probably won't remember, but that's okay. Repetition is a good teacher, right? Psalm 95. Oh, come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation. Let us come into his presence with thanksgiving. Let us make a joyful noise to him with songs of praise. For the Lord is a great God and a great King above all gods. In his hand are the depths of the earth. The heights of the mountains are his also. The sea is his, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. And then this is the verse I want us to deal with today. Oh, come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture and the sheep of his hand. I don't think anything else needs to be said about that. I think we need to pray and ask God to come today in a special way, to allow us to worship, to learn, to fellowship, and to do all that is necessary as we gather together this morning. So let's pray together. Let's stand first of all, because we're going to worship in just a minute. And let's ask God to bless this time. Father, we are so thankful that we can come and worship and bow down. We thank you, Lord, that we can honor you for who you are. We can, in your presence, we can ask for your Spirit to come mightily today, to rest upon us in a way, Father, that our hearts and minds might be open and changed today, that we might be blessed for what you're going to accomplish today. And then most of all, that we'd have the joy of the Lord in our hearts this morning, and that as we set aside these minutes, these hours today, that we'd forget about all that has happened maybe this week, to just kind of put all that aside and then in a special way acknowledge who you are. So we lift our spirits today. We ask you to do the same in Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen.
You are good when there's nothing good in me. You are love on display for all to see. You are light when the darkness closes in. You are hope, you have covered all my sin. You are peace when my fear is crippling. You are true, even in my wandering. You are joy, you're the reason that I sing. You are life, in you death has lost its sting. And oh, I'm running to your arms, the riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. You are more than my words will ever say. You are Lord, all creation will proclaim. You are here, in your presence I'm made whole. You are God, of all else I'm letting go. And oh, I'm running to your arms, the riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. Oh, I'm running to your arms, the riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. My heart will sing no other name. Jesus. 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 And oh, I'm running to your arms, the riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. Oh, I'm running to your arms, the riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign.
Good morning, church. Wow, there are a lot of people here this morning. Nice to see your beautiful faces. I want to thank everybody for all their hard work yesterday with the yard sale. That was just awesome to see everybody come together like that. Let's praise the Lord.
As the deer panteth for the water, so my soul longeth after thee. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You're my friend and you are my brother, even though you are a king. I love you more than any other, so much more than anything. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. I want you more than gold or silver, only you can satisfy. You alone are the real joy giver and the apple of my eye. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee.
Father, my heart was really moved as we sang this song, being reminded of the care that you take over us, the way that you shepherd us so faithfully, so lovingly, so kindly. Even in the midst of our rebellion and our running from you, you have been so faithful to continue chasing us down and drawing us back to you. Father, help our souls and help our hearts to submit and to surrender to your loving care over us in the cross of Christ. Help our hearts to be in a place where we would thirst and hunger for you more than anything else. Father, we trust you to do this work in us. We beg you to do it. In Jesus' name, amen. And so despite my tears and being moved so by the music, and this is just a song that I remember singing as a kid. And in many ways, it is part of my heart's cry this morning, has been too, that God would do that work, not just in my heart, but in yours too. But today really is an exciting day. It's a day to be filled with joy. It's an exciting day for us as a body because today we get to install another elder. So Joe Nelson, if you would come join me at the front. You are welcome to have a seat. This is going to take longer than 3 or 4 minutes. I hope to make it quick, but after we're almost at year 7 as a church. I don't know why it makes me uncomfortable when people are on my left side. Come over to my right side. I don't know what's going on. Is that better? It's better. I don't know. After nearly 7 years, so August 5th, 6th, right in there will be our 7-year anniversary from the day that we started, and the way that we started, Christy and I were kiddos with 4 other adults on a park bench to our home, and then since then, been 6 different places. This became our home, became our neighborhood this fall, and so today is a historic day because we get to install Joe Nelson, the other Joe, who has lots of nicknames because there's 2 of us. He's just much better looking of the 2. His hair, I'm pretty certain, always looks like when he's sleeping. One of the things that I want you to know is that after today, Joe Nelson is not one of your pastors. We use the term elder and pastor or shepherd interchangeably here at the Well because we believe that's what the Bible is. And so we want to be as biblical as. Joe is going to join our eldership as a non-staff elder. What this means is that Joe has a life outside of the Well, okay? It means that he's not a vocational or paid staff elder like me, but that does not mean that Joe is any less one of your elders or one of your pastors. He is still an elder and a pastor here with the same kind of authority and the same kind of influence and the same kind of responsibility that many of you have come to know me to have over the years. So at this point, Joe has worked all the way through our massive elder development process. It's a documented process. It's pretty intense, pretty robust. Joe and Eileen could attest to that. Chris is working his way through that right now too. It's a beast of a process that's been done intentionally. We've walked through things with Joe like theological unity, philosophical unity, relational unity. He's affirmed our doctrinal statement. He's written multiple lengthy essays on various topics. He has undergone multiple periods of communal scrutiny, as well as a pretty robust elder candidate assessment interview where we had our advisory board come in and sit down with he and Eileen. And at this point, he is called, qualified, and very competent to serve our body as an elder / pastor / shepherd. And so, Joe, to install you, I'm going to first ask you to make some covenantal commitments, and then I'm going to ask you to affirm the biblical qualifications of an elder we find in 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1. Then I'm going to ask all of our members that are present to covenant together under your leadership. So, elder covenant, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and then at the end of that, please say, I do. Kind of like getting married. I do. I know that was a long time ago. Joe, do you covenant today to serve under Jesus, our head pastor, to serve as one of his appointed elders, Do you covenant to pay careful attention to yourself and to all the flock in which the Holy Spirit has made you an overseer? Do you covenant to protect Jesus' flock from false teachers? Feed the flock with sound biblical doctrine and discipline the flock in love when necessary. Do you covenant to regularly pray for the people of this church and lead them courageously and sacrificially? Do you covenant to manage your responsibility well, work hard to care for the flock, attend to their needs, and seek to raise up other elders alongside you as Jesus provides it? If so, please say, I do. I do. Okay. Joe, we're going to move into an affirmation of qualifications. And this comes out of 1 Timothy as well as Titus. And so, again, going to ask some questions. And if you can meet these and agree to these, please say, I can at the end. Are you able to honestly say, with a right heart and a good conscience this morning, that you meet the biblical qualifications for being an elder, that you have a supernatural, God-given, Spirit-directed aspiration to the office, that you are a man above reproach, that you're a one-woman man who is sober-minded, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, and able to teach? Can you confirm that you are not a drunkard, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome or a lover of money? Can you confirm that you manage your household well with dignity, disciplining your children? That you are not a recent convert, that you are well thought of by outsiders, that you are a lover of good, that you are upright, holy, and disciplined, that you can hold firm to the trustworthy word as taught, and that you are able to give instruction in sound doctrine and also to rebuke those who contradict it? If so, say I can. I can. It's heavy, isn't it? Nope. Our church family, this covenant also includes you guys as members of the church. So members of the church family, do you covenant today to respect this man? Can you look to him for counsel and wisdom? Will you go to him when you are suffering or struggling to ask him for prayer? Do you promise to listen to and obey him when he speaks to you as your pastor under the authority of the Holy Scriptures, since he is a man whom Jesus has placed to watch over your souls? And will you pray for Joe and his family as he seeks to fulfill the office of elder? If so, would you please all together say, we will? Joe, you are now installed as an elder of the Well Church. Would like to ask everyone to applaud. We have some gifts for you. Something I've wanted to present to you. My hope is that these gifts would serve as tools and visual reminders of your calling as an elder, pastor, shepherd. Both Eric and Chris are going to bring these to you, and I'm going to give these to you as in order. Let's start with a staff. So there's a shepherd staff here to remind you. And if you would look here on the main shank, says, shepherd the flock of God, 1 Peter 5:2, and up on the crook it says, know, lead, feed, protect. Now, we bought this, and then my wife stained it, and then she inscribed it for you, so this is a labor of love from us to you. Your job, Joe, is to know, to lead, and to feed, and to protect, and to shepherd the flock of God through every season. I hope that will be a reminder and encouragement to you. Also, I'd like to present you with the Bible, and that's in the box here. Eric has it. I can hold your staff for you. We'd like to present you with the Bible. I know that you have probably many Bibles. This is a systematic theology Bible. It has tons of articles, and it's been a serious aid to me in my preaching. Joe, your job is to be ready in and out of season to preach the Word of God faithfully. And so this is to be a reminder that this is part of your job as an elder and pastor. Finally, the last piece here that Eric has in his hands is a wash basin and a pitcher, and you'll see there's a couple of towels in there, some representation of the colors of the towels, obviously the white and the red, that when Jesus goes to the cross, his blood washes us white as snow. And we see this image of him in the scriptures in, I think it's John, right? John 13, where he washes his disciples' feet. And so we wrote the passage on the edge there for you, John 13, 14. Wash one another's feet. This is a responsibility that we have as pastors and elders, is to wash one another's feet. And so my prayer is that these gifts would serve you well as you serve Jesus by serving his flock. I just want to say I love you. So happy. We've also got a certificate here that you can put on your wall at home. Just simply says that today you've been installed as an elder. It's got some passages of Scripture on there for you as well. And so I'm going to set the staff down here. I want to invite Eileen and Kat and Jen, if you would come forward, please, and join Joe. Let's move over a little bit more to the center here. Maybe get us away from these speakers. Joe and Eileen and Kat and Jen. Well, this is part of his lovely family. Joe and Eileen actually have 13 kids. How many grandkids? 20. Man. I aspire to be like you someday. We already have Chris and Eric here as well. Chris and Eric here in a moment are going to pray for you guys. You might want to step forward so maybe these guys can kind of get around you. And Eric and Chris, if you guys could just lay hands on them the best that you can. Before you pray, Joe, I want you to hear this charge from 1 Timothy 1, 6 through 7. Where Paul tells Timothy, he says, "Fan to flame the gift of God, which is in you through the laying on of hands. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." So that's my charge to you. Chris and Eric, if you guys would pray for him in that order, that'd be great. Tucson again this morning. And as we head there, I want to lead us there with almost like a word of benediction. 2 Corinthians 13:14 says that the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all. It's my prayer as we continue in praise and worship this morning, is that the grace and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit would be with us. So let's continue to worship.
Awesome wonder, consider all the worlds thy hands have made. I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. And sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. And when I think that God, his Son not sparing, sent him to die, I scarce can take it in. Head on that cross, my burden gladly bearing, he bled and died to take away my sin. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When Christ shall come with shout of acclamation and take me home, with joy shall fill my heart. And I shall bow in humble adoration, and then proclaim, my God, how great thou art. When Christ shall come with shout of acclamation and take me home, with joy shall fill my heart. And I shall bow in humble adoration, and then proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. And sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
Job 5:8-9 says, As for me, I would seek God, and to God would I commit my cause, who does great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number. Oh, Heavenly Father, may we spend the rest of our days singing of your greatness. May we be bold May we be courageous in proclaiming to a hurting and dying world that you are not only good, you are great. We're about to sing about the victory that we have in you, Lord, and so just press these words on our hearts. The victory that we have, that your shed blood on the cross caused for us. And we give you thanks and we give you praise. In Jesus' name, amen. I heard an old story, how a Savior came from glory, how he gave his life on Calvary to save a wretch like me. I heard about his groaning, of his precious blood's atoning. Then I repented of my sins and won the victory. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is to him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. I heard about his healing, of his cleansing power revealing, how he made the lame to walk again and caused the blind to see. And then I cried, dear Jesus, come and heal my broken spirit. And somehow Jesus came and brought to me the victory. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is to him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is to him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. I heard an old story, how a Savior came from glory, how he gave his life on Calvary to save a wretch like me.
Amen. Let's pray together, shall we? Father, we are so thankful today for your goodness to us, and to what a special day, what a special, awesome time to gather together and to praise you and to have that joy in our hearts today because of what you've done for us. So we praise you today in Jesus' name, and you all said, amen. You may be seated. Well, Welcome again, all of you. It's good to see so many people here today. If you're visiting with us, we're thankful that you're here. We do have visitor cards and connect cards out on the table as you just go out that door. And if you fill those out with your name if you want to, and prayer requests or whatever, we'd love to be able to share with you. So we do thank you for being here. Special announcements today. There are a couple. There's one, if you're familiar with the First Baptist Church in Dannebrog. They, of course, have gone through a lot of flooding this year, but they're having a VBS concert, I hear, on July 26th, which is Friday, from 7 to 8 p.m. And so they're asking for any help that we could provide as a church in the way of some helpers to greet, to usher, to serve food, to set up, tear down. If you can, you need to be there by 6 o'clock. And they'll be prepping all day, so help before 6 would be greatly appreciated. So it sounds like it's going to be an interesting time for them. The VBS for them starts on Tuesday and goes through Thursday. So just be praying for them. They've been through a lot, and we just want to lift them up all that we can. Also this afternoon, or about 5:30 at our house, we're going to have for our GC and for any other GCs that want to come. Now, Dave, yours isn't today, right? Or is it today? No, next week. Oh, good. Okay, so there's no conflict. So you're welcome to come, 5:30 at our house. It's a barbecue, and just bring sides and bring lawn chairs, because I think it's going to be a great day. Got a big yard for you to sit around, so we'd love to have you out there. What else for special announcements? I think that's just about it, really. Let's look at our money time. Money time's always fun to talk about, because God has been really blessing here as we've watched over the last year or so. We've watched our internal giving grow. Our goal, of course, is to become totally self-sustainable. Right now we do, thank God, we receive external help from other churches, other ministries, and we're really thankful for that. Just to give you an idea, in June, for family giving, we gave basically $5,000, which is a pretty hefty deal, and our monthly expenses are $6,500. So you know that there has to be some help there from outside to help us meet those needs. But we're so thankful as we watch that grow. We want to see, if we can, we want to see 40 families individually. Really, that 188 needs to be changed now to 195. I keep forgetting to tell them to change that, but we've raised our budget just a little bit, and just the budget we've had so far this year, God has been so good in helping us to meet that in every single way. So as God lays on your heart, giving is one of those things that, we don't use a club to make people give. We want to give out of our love and respect for God. And so there's giving boxes in the corner, one in there. There's one on the wall here. You can give online to the Well Hastings. Whoops, sorry, forgot this one. Church planning. This is good. $3,800 has been given to church to Acts 29, Verge, Southern Baptist Convention. This is the old Keystone Baptist Church, and we're so thankful that we have been able to take this building and use it for God's glory. And then our new missionaries so far this year, they are in Brazil, the Block family. Many of you have committed to give a monthly support for those missionaries in Brazil. They're in a really tough area. Any mission work is tough work. Tough work in Hastings to have a mission work. So it's difficult wherever you go. But we're so thankful to be able to give back. Our goal is to someday not only be sustainable here, but to, at the same time, be able to help some other struggling churches, some other missionaries, whatever, for outside giving. It's so important for us as individuals to give, but it's important for us as a local church to give, right? So, what's next? The ways to give, I already told you that, on the wall and in the back. And you can go online to thewellhastings.com/give, and you can give there as well. So we really appreciate your faithfulness in that area. It really means a lot to all of us, and so thank God for that. So I think we're going to have junior church this morning, ages 5 through 12. You can now be dismissed with Miss Eileen downstairs. And also, I just have to say thanks for that support today. I really thank you for the staff. I think that's awesome. I'm probably the oldest one here, which is just fine with me. And so I'll be using that staff. The first time I'm going to use it is this Tuesday at our elder meeting, so this will be really fun. But thank God. Joe, share with us Psalm number 3.
Well, it is so good to be with you guys. You'll have to forgive me for a moment. I feel that my mic pack is about to fall off the wire on it for some reason. Came disconnected, but while I'm messing around with that, if you would grab your Bible. If you're not, say, hold on. All right, so everybody's there. Psalm chapter 3. So we've been running in the Psalms for just the last couple of weeks. Our goal is to do 10 Psalms each summer until we get through the Psalms, as the other Joe said earlier. And so if you're counting, and if you give a year, or not a year, but you give an entire summer to Psalm 119, and it'll take us roughly 16 years to get through the Psalms. And Joe Nelson has committed to being here for those 16 years, and at the end of which we figured we would preach his funeral and let him go home. This was the conversation that we had the other day. You're 72, right? Yeah, so 16 years from now, you'd be 88. You're still a young spring chicken, brother. This guy, I know that this guy is out throwing bales of hay, hundreds of them, on weekends, like as a pastime. So he's got me beat in terms of being in shape. If I make it to 72, I'll just be really happy. Psalm 3. Don't want to waste any more of our time. Follow along with me. David says this: a psalm of David when he fled from Absalom, his son. O Lord, how many are my foes? Many are rising against me. Many are saying of my soul, there is no salvation for him in God. Selah. But you, O Lord, are a shield about me, my glory and the lifter of my head. I cried aloud to the Lord, and he answered me from his holy hill. Selah. Your blessing be on your people. Selah. Father, would you come now in a special way and speak to us through the preaching of your word? Lord, we trust that when your word goes forward with a purpose, and it doesn't return void. So, Lord, we know that. And we trust that that's your purpose with your word. But, Father, we ask that you would come and speak to us in a special way. We admit and we confess that we each gather here today not like trophies in a room, but more like really needy, broken people in a hospital. So, Father, I pray that you would come and do work on our hearts through the preaching of your word, that you would strengthen us in our weakness, that you would give us healing where we are sick and diseased, that you would call us to repentance where we are walking in rebellion, that you would help us to trust in you where we are struggling to believe. Father, I pray that you would come and through the power of your Spirit do a miraculous work, and that is to remove any hindrances and barriers that would seek to stop us from hearing the life-giving message of the gospel. And I do pray in closing, Father, that you would guide us through this passage and help us to land at the foot of a bloody cross and the doorway of an empty tomb. Pray that in the name of Jesus. And everybody said, amen. Hey, so the opening line of this psalm, of Psalm 3, basically sets the context for everything that David says throughout the entire psalm. Now, you might be misled into believing that verse 1, the first line, starts off with, O Lord, how many are my foes? But I would like to correct that thinking and just help you to notice that the actual first line of the psalm is this: a psalm of David when he fled from Absalom, his son. That's actually the first line. In fact, in the Hebrew language, that's actually verse 1. Now, the Israelites would have actually sung this psalm in their weekly gatherings, and that would have been the very first line in the song that they would have sang. So if you can imagine it with me, you're standing in a church gathering, and the very first thing that you begin to sing is that line. I'm not going to try to sing it for you because I don't think you want me to do that, and nor do I know what the cadence of it would be like, or the tone, or any of those. But imagine that's the first line of the song that you begin to sing in a worship song, or worship setting. A psalm of David when he fled from Absalom, his son. Kind of puts Hillsong and Bethel to shame, doesn't it? Sounds like a really great, light, fluffy way to start off a worship service. Certain this is this line were the first line of a song. This is the song that we would want to choose for our worship gatherings. Being sarcastic when I say that, I'm certain that all of the popular music artists out there today are they're searching for this line. This is the missing line in what they've all been searching for, especially that opening line. There's something about that opening line, doesn't just kind of causes your heart to feel all ooey and gooey, and just enjoy singing that, right? Laying it on as thick as I can because I don't want you to forget this. And when the Israelites would have sung this song, there's a background and a context to this line, this first line. It would have conjured up images in their minds as they sang this opening line. It would have reminded the Israelites of the day when all hell broke loose for David. That's what it would have brought up for them. That would have been the imagery in the Israelites' mind. I want you to think about that line. Let me read it again. A psalm of David when he fled from Absalom, his son. Let that sink in for a moment. When David's a father, he's running for his life from his son. His son is seeking to murder him. That's the context of this praise song. Sounds like a great way to open a worship gathering, doesn't it? Now, there is a context to all of this. 2 Samuel 13 through 19, there is a background story to this opening line. There's a background story behind the idea that Absalom is trying to murder his dad. David, if you don't know, he was the king of Israel. The most famous king of Israel in the Old Testament. Jesus, in the New Testament, refers to David as a man after God's own heart. That's quite a compliment to be paid by Jesus, who is perfect. Referred to David as a man after God's own heart, but here's the thing about David. If you know anything about David, you know that David wasn't a perfect man by any means. In fact, for all of the great stories that we have of David, the reality is that David is guilty of horrendous evil. I think we have a tendency to miss that sometimes in the story. Even though David had killed lions and killed bears, he killed a giant with his bare hands, basically. Killed that giant while all the other men in the nation hid out in their cowardly corners. So while we remember those awesome stories about David, we must also remember that David used his authority as a king for horrendous evil. He used his authority as a king to excuse his affair, his sexual affair with his best friend's wife, Bathsheba. Many commentators refer to that thing that David did as political rape. It's no different than the stories that we hear today. Famous, powerful, political people even using their positions of power and authority for personal gain or for sexual favors. Same story. Great King David, man after God's own heart. That's part of his story. While he was a believer, not before he was a believer. While. Not the end of the horror either. That's just one story. David even had his best friend, Bathsheba's husband, that he had the affair with, had him murdered to cover it all up. Now, the consequences for David's sin was the death of the son that was born to David and Bathsheba. And sometimes I think that we think that the story ends there, but it doesn't. There were further lasting consequences. David's family from that point forward was marked by chaos and rebellion and cowardice and even more horrendous evil. One of David's sons, Amnon, a great name. I'm not sure why you name your kid Amnon. I don't even know how you yell that name down the stairs. Amnon, come here. Amnon, though, one of his sons, actually raped his own sister, Tamar. So Amnon's sitting here and he's looking at his sister and he goes, wow, she's hot. And then he rapes her. Absalom, their brother, David's other son, sees this happen, steps in, grabs Tamar, takes her back to his home to shield her and help her to heal from this horrific evil that had happened. Is nursing her back to health, basically, in his home, is the way that I see the story happening. 2 years. Can't imagine what it would be like for Absalom for 2 years with his sister Tamar on his shoulder, crying because of what their brother Amnon did to her. And what it would be like to be in Absalom's shoes and feel the hurt and the pain of your sister because of this is what your brother did to her. After nursing Tamar back to health for 2 years, Absalom gets very angry. Understandable. Agreed. Hunts his brother Amnon down and has him murdered because he raped his sister. This is David's family. A man after God's own heart. Great shepherd, keen leader of Israel. So this is part of the background behind the opening line of this worship song. This is the imagery that would be brought to mind for the Israelites as they sang this song. It makes me wonder, how is this song supposed to help me worship the Lord? How would imagery such as that, when in a church gathering, how would the imagery of a brother raping his sister help me to worship the Lord? But that's the imagery that is evoked in this song. Why would I want to sing a song that has that kind of evil in its backdrop? Why don't you consider more of the story with me as you ponder and think. After Absalom murders his rapist brother, there appears to be a wedge between David and his son Absalom. If you're just studying this in 2 Samuel, David should have been the one to have done something about the rape of his daughter, but he didn't. This leads Absalom to murder his brother instead, right? And as you're reading the story, it appears that David is actually comforted that Amnon is dead, that Absalom went and took revenge against his brother. And as you're reading it, it seems though that Absalom is super angry, super ticked off at his dad because his dad didn't do what he should have done. Makes sense in my head. So Absalom's anger and bitterness against his father David grows out of control, causes Absalom to then construct this conspiracy to dethrone his father David through murder. Now David now is running for his life because his own son wants him dead. So that's the context behind the opening line of this psalm. The context is all-out war. All hell is breaking loose against the king, and he's running for his very life from one of the people that he loves the most. Can you imagine that day? Can you put yourself in David's shoes on that day when all hell breaks loose and the person or the people that you have loved the most are now turning against you? That's the day. Just think about the day when all hell maybe breaks loose in your life. When your closest friend turns on you. When someone you love betrays you. Or when the person that you trusted with your heart turns out to be a liar. When someone that you cared for deeply rejects your counsel and runs towards sin instead of running towards righteousness. Maybe the day when your comfort bubble gets popped by a day or maybe a month of days of horrific evil, difficulty. Maybe the day when the chaos of sin erupts again proves to you one more time that you control absolutely nothing and that comfort in this life is a fleeting dream. Maybe that was the day for you. What was that day? When was the most recent day for you when all hell broke loose? When was the most recent season of days when all hell broke loose in your life? When someone's mischaracterized you, when they ridicule you, when they plug their ears and they ignore you, when they talk about you behind your back, when they disrespect you, when they trample on all of the investment that you've made in them, when they abandon you, when they commit unspeakable evil against you. Those are the days when all hell breaks loose, isn't it? Those are the days when you feel the most afraid, isn't it? Aren't those the days in the sky that is too big to see through? Those are the days when it feels like the bodies of those whom you love the most are littering the battlefield of life around you, and you can't get to the edge of the blast radius fast enough to survey or repair the damage. These are days when all hell breaks loose. And I could go on forever and put out different kinds of circumstances. What do you do on those days? Where do you turn for help on those days? Where do you find comfort on those days? How do you worship God on those days? If you look back at this worship song again, I want you to notice the movement of David's heartbeat in the midst of all hell breaking loose in his life. Notice the movement of his heart. The first thing that we see is David complains to God. That's refreshing, isn't it? David complains to God in verses 1 through 2. I can hear the fear in his voice. I can hear the pain in his voice. I can hear the anxiety and the worry in his heart as he says, "Oh Lord, how many are my foes? Many are rising against me. Many are saying of my soul, there is no salvation for him in God." Selah. That last word, Selah. It's a word that means to stop and to reflect on this. How about that? It would have been a musical break, an instrumental break. The voices would stop in the song, and it would be instruments to allow you the opportunity to reflect on what you just sang. Stop and reflect on this. See, David isn't glossing over. He's not downplaying. He's not ignoring his emotions. I also don't think David is over-exaggerating his predicament, as many of us are prone to do. David's not playing the victim because his sensibilities or his snowflake feelings got hurt. He's bringing his honest complaints before the Lord. Reflect on that. Reflect on what it looks like for you to bring your honest complaint to the Lord. We're much quicker in this day and age to bring our complaints to many other places. We make a phone call, we send a text message, we post another Facebook post. That's how we complain. We slander, we gossip, and we hurt. Reflect on the word many now. In this verse, reflect on the word many. David complains that he has many enemies. His sons run around behind his back, organizing a posse of supporters to help him overthrow his father. Later on in verse 6, if you look down there, it appears as though Absalom has thousands upon thousands of people rally behind him. He convinced thousands of people that David was their enemy and that he wasn't fit to lead them anymore. Many people rose up against him. Many people spoke evil of him. They even questioned whether or not he actually belonged to God anymore. A day like that could only be described as a day when all the powers of hell have broken loose. Where do you go for confidence on a day like that? Where do you find your confidence? David found his confidence in the Lord. The second thing we see is that David found his confidence in the Lord. Verses 3 through 4, right in the midst of David making his complaint. So, Lord, I can hear, I can see, I can read where he finds his confidence to get through a day like this. He says, but you, O Lord, are a shield about me, my glory and the lifter of my head. I cried aloud to the Lord, and he answered me from his holy hill. Selah. Selah. Reflect on that now. You have your complaints. You have your difficulties. You have your suffering. You've reflected on that. You've brought that to the Lord. I reflect on this. Confidence is in the Lord. What does that mean? Let's reflect on where you find your confidence in your days of trouble. When the chaos of sin erupts into a mushroom cloud of toxicity. When you realize that you've done everything that you can possibly do to change the circumstances, but the war is still raging on. Where do you find confidence on that day? David finds his confidence in the Lord. Reflect on how significant this is for this guy. Okay? Reflect on how significant it is for David to say that. David was the king of a mighty nation. He's a very successful warrior. I already mentioned he'd taken on a lion, he'd taken on a bear, taken on a giant, and every other man in the nation is hiding from. And freaking David, man, he takes out the giant with a flimsy little shoestring and a stone. David's walked through some stuff. Come out the other side still breathing. He even beheaded the giant with his own sword. That's a tough dude. A mighty warrior. He's also leader, military general, over thousands upon thousands of the nation's fiercest fighting men. I'm honestly, as I read the story, I'm back in 2 Samuel, I'm not so certain that Absalom's army would have been any match for David and his 30-some men. It was 300. I probably got the number wrong. All right, go back and check. I'm not so certain that Absalom's army wouldn't have even been a match for David and his men. I mean, David had a dude in his crew that was happy to go chase down a lion on a snowy day, jumped into a pit, killed it with his bare hands. That's David and his boys. That's a crew. I'm not so certain that Absalom's army was going to be any match for David. David doesn't find confidence in his accomplishments or in his skills, places that we go to find our confidence. David doesn't go and find confidence in the arms of another lover, which we've seen David do. David doesn't go and find his confidence at the bottom of a bottle. David finds his confidence in the Lord. He rests in the truth that even though there are people who are questioning his salvation, they're rising up to overthrow him, he is secure in God. He trusts that God will not only be a shield to him from the full frontal assault that is coming at him, he's actually trusting that God himself will be a shield all the way around him, to the extent that even his blind spots and even his weaknesses that he can't see, that those will be covered by his Savior. Isn't that the kind of trust that we're called to have? It's to trust that God would even protect our blind spots and our weaknesses that we don't even know are there. David found confidence that his enemies would not crush his neck. Something that would have been popular in that culture was when warring nations came in and beat a king, they would snap his neck with their foot so that his head would hang, so you could prove that you had beaten that king. And David is saying, I trust that my neck will not be broken. I trust that God will lift my head up, that my head will not hang, that God himself will lift my head towards him in confidence. You see, something that you and I have got to know deep down inside is that there's not even enough strength inside of us to lift our head on the days when all hell breaks loose. The only reason that you and I can even lift our head is if our Father gave us the strength to lift it. David knew that if he cried out to the Lord, that the Lord would hear him. On the day when all the fury and all the power of hell broke loose in David's life, David found confidence in God. And I want to ask you a question. What is the natural result of finding your confidence in God? Just think about this for a minute. What is the natural outcome, the result in your life when you find your confidence in the Lord? Think. The answer from the text is comfort. It's comfort. It's not the momentary comfort that we find in medicating our pain with new relationships or old sinful habits. It's not that kind of momentary comfort. I'm talking about an eternal comfort that is found only in the presence of the living God. David finds his comfort in God. Verses 5 through 6, he says this. Listen to what he says and sense the comfort. I lay down and slept. Whew. Anybody here like sleep? I lay down and slept. I woke again, for the Lord sustained me. I will not be afraid of many thousands of people who have set themselves against me all around. And please hear this. Hear this one thing. For the supernatural, because it's not natural. Any of this, none of this is natural. It's not natural to trust in God. It's not natural to find your confidence in Him. It's not natural to find eternal comfort in God. It's supernatural. It's miraculous that you and I, that any of us would ever turn away from our war against our King. Supernatural that we would ever walk away from that to find confidence and then comfort in God. It's the supernatural result of finding our confidence in the finished work of Christ at the cross. It's true eternal comfort. It's not the momentary comfort that comes from southern comfort, because southern comfort wears off the next day, leaves you with a massive headache in the morning. It's momentary effects of that new relationship that you found, that'll leave you empty, it'll leave you lonely. The momentary comfort of accomplishing something by overworking yourself, it's not going to help you sleep any better the next night. Here's what's going to happen. We've all experienced this. We know this. We just wind up living with a fearful expectation, a fearful realization that someday all the things that we put together, this little house of cards that we have put our confidence and our comfort in, it's all going to fall apart. You're not going to make the next deadline. The whiskey and the drugs, the pornography, whatever it is that you or I, we use for momentary comfort, it's not going to outlast our true enemies. Our true enemies, Satan, sin, and the grave, are seeking our destruction. All the ways that we try to medicate will not last. Even though the first night of David's flight from Absalom, if you go back to 2 Samuel, his first night of flight from his son was sleepless. He was trying to cross a river. At some point, he still found some space for a holy nap. Praise the Lord. One author reminded me that the God who sustains us never sleeps. The God who sustains us never sleeps. This is a truth that helps me to sleep at night. Most of you, if you know me, you know that I struggle with sleep for sure. I typically live on 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. It's ridiculous. I need sleeping pills. I probably need counselors, probably need lots of books and all sorts of things to help me. Sleep is something that's been a struggle for me. At the end of the day, when I sleep the best when my heart is at rest in the confident comfort that I find in the Lord. See, when my complaining is done, when I find confidence in the Lord, and when comfort begins to kind of take root in my soul, even in the midst of a tough day where all hell is breaking loose. It's on those days, at that point where comfort begins to take root. It's at that point. It's only then when I've found confidence and when I've found comfort. It's then when I can cry out to the Lord for justice, for salvation, for blessing. I've learned from David that God is faithful when we cry out to Him in our day of trouble. Anybody here ever experienced that? God being faithful to you? Your day of trouble when all hell breaks loose. And you wonder, where is He now? Verses 7 through 8, David cries out. He says, "Arise, O Lord, save me. Oh my God, for you strike all my enemies on the cheek, and you break the teeth of the wicked. Salvation belongs to the Lord. Your blessing be on your people." Selah. Selah. Reflect on this. Reflect on David's crying out to the Lord. You have to get the sense of this cry, okay? You have to get the sense of this cry just right. It's not the emotional weeping of a beaten man. Emotional weeping has its place, as I've experienced it already today with me. That's not the kind of crying that is happening here in these final verses. It's not the kind of cry that's taking place here. It's not the emotional cry of a beaten man. When David cries out to God, "Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God," he's echoing a war cry. It's a war cry. It's not the emotional cry of a beaten man. It's a war cry, and it comes out of Numbers chapter 10, verse 35. It's Moses who first uttered this cry. So when David places that in this song, it's a change in the sense of the song. You know that time in the psalm where the drums start to beat really, really hard, and then the voices lift, and the tempo raises? That's what's happening here. It's a war cry. Moses first uttered these exact same words on a day when he led the people of Israel with the Ark of the Covenant going in front of them, down from Mount Sinai, through enemy territory to the Promised Land. I just hope that you can get that picture. Down Mount Sinai, through enemy territory to the Promised Land. That's the cry that's coming from David's mouth in this song. It's a war cry that reminds us that our God goes before us in the battle against the furious powers of hell. See, in this war cry, we're reminded that every person who continues in rebellion against the true king and his kingdom, those rebels have a day coming where God is going to strike them on the cheek and he's going to break their teeth. That's a day that we all can take comfort in and simultaneously be fearful of. You take comfort in that because you know on that day, all of God's enemies will be laid to waste. It's a day of justice, right? At the same time, remember that the mouths that once uttered hatred and slander and laughter at the Lord and his people, those mouths are going to be left full of broken teeth. That's a visual that you would sing in worship. And at the same time, simultaneously, there's a hope in this. There's a hope in what David cries out at the end here. There's a hope for the rebellious. There's an invitation here for the sinful. Every one of us in this room is guilty. Guilty of war against our king and his kingdom. But we learn that there is mercy for the wicked. There's hope for the rebellious. We have all acted hatefully towards the Lord. David reminds us in this war cry that God does indeed save his enemies. They become his people and he blesses them. And that's exactly, if you go back to 2 Samuel once again and you read the story of David, at the end of Absalom's rebellion against him, at some point God takes Absalom out of the picture. And all of the people that were following Absalom and their rebellion and their hatred of King David and the kingdom. All of those people that followed Absalom, they come to David and they're begging for mercy. David had the authority to take them out. That's the authority that he had. David completely pardoned every one of them. Can you imagine what that day would be like? To know that you had done this to your king. That he had every right to take you out because of your rebellion. And that's what you're facing. And in that moment, he says, I forgive you. For no reason. David had no reason to forgive them. Completely forgiven. Restored as citizens of the kingdom that they once were enemies of. And David cries out to God here. He's uttering a war cry of both justice and salvation and blessing through pardon. What a picture of the good news of the gospel, right? On the day when all the furious power of hell breaks loose in our lives, we can complain to God. We can find confidence in God. We can find comfort in God. And we can cry out to God, trusting in the message of the gospel. I want you to think about this final thought. Ultimately, this entire psalm is just a foretaste of what's going to happen at the cross and the empty tomb of Jesus. See, on that day, the day of Jesus' death on a cross, that's the day when all the fury of the power of hell broke loose against the King. They mocked him, they ridiculed him, they questioned if he could even be a godly man. They knew not what was really happening, because behind the scenes in the spiritual realm, a cosmic battle is being raged, and the forces of hell thought that they had won the war. But Jesus, on that day, he trusted his Father with his life and with his death, and then on the third day, the stone was rolled away. And he got up out of the grave that he was laid in, and he walked away in complete and final victory over his enemies and for his enemies. On that day, the day that he died, when Jesus cried out, "It is finished." On that day, when he rose again, he proved that he is the only Savior of wicked men. It's only one place to leave your complaints. Only one place to find your confidence. Only one place to find lasting comfort. It's only one place that gives you true power in your crying. It's only one place to hide on the days when all the fury, all the power of hell breaks loose in your life. That place is a hill called Golgotha. It's a place of the skull. It's a place of death, where an instrument of torture became an instrument of pardon. And death in that moment became no more permanent than a short nap. The only hope for rebellious people like you and I is to trust in the very King that we have betrayed. He's faithful to hear. He's faithful to act. He's faithful to save. So when all the fury of hell breaks loose in your life, you can complain to God, you can find confidence in God, you can find comfort in God, and you can cry out to God from a position of being strengthened by His Spirit. And when you do this, when you cry out to God and you unleash a war cry, you do that from the shadow of an empty tomb underneath a bloody cross. Amen? Let's pray. Father, thank you for your word, and thank you for our time together this morning. And I pray, God, that as we close, that you would move our hearts to worship, and that you would move our hearts to survey the work that you did at the cross on our behalf. Trust you to do that work. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, as we close with communion and worship. But the reason that we do this is because there's oftentimes a lot of things that a preacher might say that might make you feel like you need to walk out of here and go do some things better. And while there's probably some truth to that for all of us, the reality at the end of the day is you're not going to walk out of here and be any better than when you first walked in. Because all of the better that you can be was done at the cross. You're already perfect. Already perfect in front of your Father. And that's grace. And what we need more than anything else in this day and age, and any day and age, is to drink deeply of the grace of God on our behalf. And so we do that by receiving communion together, and we remember the broken body and the shed blood of Jesus on our behalf. And so this is a meal that is for believers. It's not for people who are not yet there. We want you to be there, but we can't force you to be there. But we also want to let you off the hook if you're in a place where you're still questioning and still thinking through and you're just not quite there yet. We don't want you to do something that would be fake or false. So we just ask that you would refrain from taking the meal and not take that as my war against the King. I want to follow him. Don't know what that looks like yet, but I want to start that. If that's you, then we'd like to pray with you, help you begin. Front and one in the back underneath the big clock. The one in the center here, you can come to alone if you just like your communion be between you and the Lord. And you break a piece off the bread, you dip it in the cup, you consume it. On your right and on your left and in the back under the clock, there will be people at those stations to serve you the elements and pray with you if you have any need. I would like to invite you guys to stand with me and we'll close.
searing loss, the Father turns his face away, as wounds which mar the chosen one bring many sons to glory. Hold the man upon a call out among the scoffers. It was my sin that held him there until it was accomplished. His dying breath has brought me life. I know that it is finished. I will not boast in anything, no gifts, no power, nor wisdom, but I will boast in Jesus Christ, his death and resurrection. Why should I gain from his reward? I cannot give an end. Why should I gain from his reward? I cannot give an answer, but this I know with all my heart. Ransom. In Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song. This cornerstone, this solid ground, firm through the fiercest drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are stilled, when striving cease. My comforter, my all in all, here in the love of Christ I stand. In Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless babe, this gift of love and righteousness, scorned by the ones he came to save, till on that cross as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied. For every sin on him was laid, here in the death of Christ I stand. There in the bursting forth in glorious day. Up from the grave he rose again, and as he stands in victory, since curses lost its grip on me, for I am his and he is mine, bought with the precious blood of Christ. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand, all other ground is sinking sand. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand, all other ground is sinking sand. No guilt in life, no fear in death. Here in the power of Christ I live. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. From life's first cry to final breath, Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand, till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I stand. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand, all other ground is sinking sand. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand, all other ground is sinking sand.
It's been good to be in God's house today. Amen. It's been a tremendous time of worship and understanding a little bit more about what God has for us. These Psalms are powerful, and so we're so thankful for that. If you stand with me, we'll close in prayer and just send each other out with a blessing today. Father, we thank you for your love for us today. We thank you, Father, for the broken body and shed blood of our Lord Jesus Christ. We thank you, Lord, that he was raised from the dead for our justification, that we might be able to deal with this sin issue, Father. Bless us in a special way as your Spirit guides and directs us in the week to come, as challenges that we face, as decisions we have to make, people that we need to speak to, all, Lord, that you would prepare beforehand to see good things happen. We thank you most of all for your word. That word never changes, and the power of the word never changes. And so bless us this day. Thanks for the Lord's day in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks for coming. God bless you.